Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira thumma amma ba'd. My dear brothers and sisters, this is Yaser Birjab, Imam of Valley Ranch Islamic Center from Dallas, Texas. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. SubhanAllah, many Muslims all over the world looking up to the Muslim community in America. They keep looking at us and saying, you know what, you guys mashallah live in the United States of America. Alhamdulillah, you have great students of knowledge, ulama, mashallah, a lot of great Muslim communities, and so many people, they be surprised when they come to America and see how, alhamdulillah, the Muslim community is thriving and doing a great job. And they always think that, you know, they are oppressed, they don't have a chance to speak and preach and give da'wah. But just give the, alhamdulillah, the good news. Fadlallahi tabaraka wa ta'ala, Allah blessed us, alhamdulillah, with the freedom of speech. And so we can talk, we can invite other people to Islam, we can, alhamdulillah, work so hard with the Muslim community and the non-Muslim community to make the world a better world. It's not just about, you know, making the Muslim community a better community. No, wallah, it's about making the entire world, you know, a better world. For us, this is all our responsibility. And I know that, subhanAllah, Somalia in particular has been going on through a lot of hardships. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for the people of Somalia, Rabbil Alameen, and bring unity amongst them and bring peace and tranquility into their hearts and their lives. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. But subhanAllah, we're part of the entire world. So whatever happens in one corner of the world affects everybody else. So for us here, you know, what do we focus about? What do we focus on as an advice for the brothers and sisters who are working on the field in Somalia? What do we need to focus on? One area that everybody now is talking about and complaining about is the subject of the youth. You know, we're losing our youth. This is basically what people are talking about now. We're losing them. It seems that there isn't enough focus on them. There isn't enough activities, programs to take care of the youth and guide them to the straight path, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And of course, if the youth go in one direction, only Allah knows what's the next generation is going to come to and how we're going to provide, you know, leadership for the next generation. So that's why it's so crucial, so important, you know, as an advice for the community there, to put extra effort on training the youth and making sure they have, inshallah, the opportunities for them. So what do we do here? Just to give an advice, inshallah, on that subject, bidnillahi azza wa jalla. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when speaking about youth, using the word fitya, which is coming from futuwa in the Arabic language, which means chivalry. And chivalry and futuwa means basically the youthful age. And the youthful age is very crucial. It's very important during that time in order for them to produce that which is best for the communities and for the society. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us examples, Surah Al-Kahf, for example. إِنَّهُمْ فِتَّةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. He called them fitya. They were fitya, آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. So the group of young men who believed in the Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He increased them in guidance and in huda and in khair. And He made them a miracle for the world after them and after their time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about Ibrahim alayhi salam when he challenged the status quo in his own community and in his own society as well. When his people, they went traveling, you know, they went for their festivity and they came back again and he destroyed these gods and these false idols. Then they wondered what happened, who did this to their gods? They said, قالوا سمعنا فتى يذكرهم يقال له إبراهيم. We heard a fata, like a young man. A young man, he was talking about them, and that's probably the one who did what he did this to them. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about Musa alayhi salam and Yusha bin Nun, he mentioned Musa and he says fatah. He used the word fatah, which means basically the young man, his apprentice, the one who was walking with Musa alayhi salam, learning from Musa, who became the leader after Musa alayhi salatu wasalam as well. And there's so many other examples, you know, from the Quran. One last example, Yusuf alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned Yusuf alayhi salam in the longest, of course, story you can think of in the Quran, and in many vivid details. And one of these details, when he was enslaved into Egypt and he was sold to the Aziz, and then subhanallah, growing up as a slave over there, Allah Azza wa Jalla highlighted the fact that he became a fatan. And the women, when they were talking about him, says, you know, سمعنا قالوا امرأة العزيز تراود فتاها عن نفسه, like shame on her, the wife of the Aziz. She's kind of seducing that young man, the young man who grows up in her house, you know, to commit fitna and to commit the zina with her. So eventually Allah called him fatan. But what was so special about the futuwa of Yusuf alayhi salam that made him survive all the challenges and all the trials that people can go through? Our youth always complain that the fitna of the shahwa, the desire, the fitna of the wealth, the fitna of the position, the fitna of politics, the fitna of being imprisoned, injustice and this and that, the fitna of your family as well. All these fitan, they came into the life of Yusuf alayhi salam. All of them. Look at his story. Every single episode and chapter of that story speaks about certain trials. His trial with his siblings, his own brothers, they put him into the water well. And then him being estranged, and he was sent to a different land, completely foreign land. Like many people, they're forced as refugees to live in different countries. They learn different language, different culture, and so on. And he was very young at the time. And then he was put in jail for no reason, for no crime that he committed, injustice, subhanAllah. And you look into this, there is so much in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. But what made Yusuf alayhi salam always, the highlight of the life of Yusuf alayhi salam, what made him so special in such a very young age to do the right thing and always make the right decision? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about him, وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ, when he reached his ashud, which means his youthful age, he said, آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا. We have given him hukm and ilm. Two important qualities that we need to help our youth to acquire, inshallah ta'ala, and give it to them. What are these two things? Number one, al-hukm and al-ilm. Let's talk about ilm first. Ilm means knowledge, obviously. And of course, when you talk to the youth, the teenagers in particular, they think they know everything. And they keep telling you, I know more than you, I know better than you. So they just have this kind of like feeling that they've already mastered so many things. So they know a lot. But of course, we all know, being older than them, we've been there, we have seen it, we know that they're barely actually starting to learn. But they just think that they have everything. So the subject of ilm and knowledge, we need to educate our children in many things. We need to teach them about their faith, about the practice of their deen, akhlaq and manners, and also the circumstances of life. We need to teach them the most important thing, the adab. The adab, how to handle, how to deal with people around them in the society, in the community. And we also need to teach them skills, so we would survive, inshallah, and become productive in this life, bidnillahi tabaraka wa ta'ala. The second thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, hukman. Hukm means judgment. It could also mean wisdom, because when you make, a wise decision, that's wise judgment. So, but hukman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we gave him hukm and ilm. A lot of youth, they might have the knowledge, but what they still lack is the right judgment. The right judgment. Why? Because naturally, even biologically, the brain of the youth and the teenager is not yet in the area where judgment takes place, is not completely and fully developed. And that's why if you have someone who is very youthful and they have a proper knowledge and Allah bless them with sound judgment, which means when they make decisions, they make right decisions. They don't just follow their desires. They don't just want to impress their friends and their peers. They don't want to just take opportunities of doing the wrong thing just to show and look cool in front of other people. No, they're very wise. They're smart. They're intelligent, and they think of the consequences of things, so they want to know whatever they do, it has, of course, the right results. So two things. We teach them, inshallah, the knowledge and how to make right decisions. That's what it means. And if you have someone who's very youthful, they have the proper knowledge, and we have taught them the skill and the way to make the right decision, to make the right choices, of course, based on the knowledge that we have provided for them, then you will have, inshallah, someone who truly become balagha ashuddahu and became, inshallah ta'ala, the best in the community, like Yusuf alayhi salam was in that community. This is the kind of thing we need to deal with our children, our youth, inshallah azza wa jal. Work on two things. How to provide them with the proper knowledge and proper education in this deen and dunya as well. And the second thing, teach them skills for life on how to become leaders, how to become, inshallah ta'ala, making the sound judgment and the right decisions, and by becoming, helpful for themselves and helpful for those who are around them. If we can maintain this, inshallah ta'ala, we will see our youth will make right decisions, inshallah. They will make right choices for themselves and on behalf of the community, and they will not be taking advantage of anyone who is just deceiving them, taking advantage of their young age, or even actually fooling them into going into groups and activities that will not be actually helpful for them or for their families or even for the society. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our youth, Ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fill their hearts with iman and with the love for their deen. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them the ability to follow the example of the Prophet salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give our youth, Ya Rabbil Alameen, that ilm that is nafi', that is beneficial to them. Ilm that they will be able to practice in their life and they put their faith into action, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them the ability to make the right choices and right decisions that will help them in this dunya and will admit them Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la in the akhirah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.